Married couples who sleep in separate rooms, why do you do this? During the summer I moved to another room we call the wind tunnel. Basically I have a ceiling fan going almost 24/7 and a window fan above the bed. I run from 7 p.m. 8 a.m. She has allergies and easily gets runny nose and sneezes from any moving air. My body temp will skyrocket and I'll sweat like crazy in a room devoid of moving air. So she sleeps in a stuffy no air movement master bedroom and I sleep soundly in the wind tunnel. During the winter I move back, cause then I become the ultimate body warmer for her. My parents slept in separate beds as did my great-grandparents. For my great-grandparents it was a comfort thing. Grandma didn't like not being able to move around the bed at will. She and Grandpa loved each other dearly and she passed not long after he did because she missed him so much. For my parents it was a couple things. As my dad aged his sleep cycle went weird. He would be able to sleep a couple hours and then be up half the night and fall asleep again about the time my mom was getting up for work. Also my mom has sleep apnea and uses a CPAP. It made hell noise back then. Dad was half deaf and the sound still bothered him. Out of respect for each other they decided it was better to have separate bedrooms. We are both 41, been married 23 years and sleep in different beds. First half of our marriage we always slept in the same bed. Of course there was the occasional crying kid who wanted mommy to sleep with them. Or falling asleep on the couch or somewhere else. About 10 years ago I spent a year working a midnight shift so I started sleep on our spare bed in the basement. We both realized we had much better sleep separate in our own beds. After I went back to a day shift we went back to sleeping in the same bed and soon realized sleeping apart was more restful. Over time we bought 2 full-size beds and put them in our bedroom like the old TV shows. It has been great. So a lot of comments about intimacy. Yeah, we have sex. I did say every bit as much as we ever did in the past. We have been married over half our life so we are really good at knowing when fun time is going to happen. Sometimes we sleep in the same bed. There is no rules we have to sleep separately all the time. Our beds are about a foot apart and sometimes we slide them together, especially when the kids were younger and they did end up in our room, along with the dog. Too. Yes, we got married at 18. We went to prom together and girlfriend somehow got pregnant after prom when we stopped for soda. So we got married. When I was very young, my mother started sleeping on the couch every night. I remember asking her why and she gave excuses like her back hurt in their bed and the couch was more comfy. Or my dad's books were always scattered across her side of the bed and she did not want to clean them up all the time. Dad was an avid reader. He had stacks of books as tall as the bed that were surrounding his half of the bed. This went on for a couple decades. Mom never got a proper bed of her own, just invested in high-quality couches for our living room and chose to sleep there every night. Then one day, years after I did grown and moved out of the house, my parents announced a divorce, which shocked me because I had never known any discontent between them. I asked my mother what happened and she said that she fell out of love with my dad after my sister was born. But she did not want the 2 of us kids growing up in a broken home. So they agreed to live together until we had both moved out of the house. My parents were still the best of friends, just not lovers, so it was awkward for them to be sharing a bed together. My mother now lives on the opposite side of the country from the rest of us. On land she inherited from her mother, she built a cabin in the woods and is now happily living on her own. She has friends where she lives, but claims she does not need a relationship anymore. My parents and grandparents do this. My parents because of a variety of reasons including marital strain and my dad's PTSD from the military messing with his sleep something fierce. My grandparents because of marital strain, weird and non-complementary work schedules, and my grandma's quickly reaching the point where it is hard for her to walk up the stairs to the master bedroom anyway. But my last boss and his wife do this. They are very happily married. He just has severe leg issues that have him tossing and turning in bed a ton in an attempt to get less uncomfortable, and they quickly realized that if either of them wanted any degree of quality sleep they did need to have separate beds. Not married. Hope that is not a requirement. Boyfriend snores. No apnea. Tried the breath right strips and they worked, but they gave him horrible bruises on his nose. Not fault of the product. His skin is very sensitive and he bruises easy. We start in the same bed and I end up in other bed at some point of the night. He usually falls asleep before me so he doesn't notice. He just remembers falling asleep in the same bed. If I do fall asleep first I will usually wake up from the snoring and move to the other bed. I have to get up 2 hours before him for work anyway so he also isn't disturbed by my alarm. I go and kiss him goodbye and it is fine. It actually works out fine. It is like when couples fall asleep intertwined and move apart through the night to their own side of the bed. Weekends we do sleep the whole night together because I am usually too tired to be woken up from the snoring, and we have different preferences in the bed. He likes soft and I like firm. I'd rather sleep on the floor than a soft memory foam mattress. We talk about things that bother us and check in every now and again with things like this. Communication is key. We never used to. We always slept together side by side, regardless of the fact that we had different shifts of work. She slept hard, not easy to wake, and I sleep light. But whenever she had get up for work, I would not mind getting up with her. I would have slept enough hours to be good for the day. I got up with her to kiss her bye and see her on her way to work. But then, personal issues came up with me. Time went by. About 8 months. We fell out of love with each other. We tried to make it work, thinking it was just temporary. Well, fast forward about a year or so, and we started sleeping separately. We did it to start separating ourselves from each other, emotionally, and so that it would be a lot easier to handle the separation and the emotions for when we knew that the divorce would be final. We started sleeping by ourselves to get used to how it would be after we split, and the process of the divorce went smoothly, and that was that. She found love again, I believe. And I am here focusing on myself, and it would not have been as easy if we would not have started sleeping in different beds. And the thing is, we did not talk about sleeping separately. It just kind of happened, like, subconsciously, almost as if we knew this is what needed to be done. Sorry about the many details. I just felt some backstory would have put my answer into context. Not married on paper. We were both single parents who both lived alone for a long time before we began dating. We have different nighttime routines that neither of us were really willing to compromise on. Plus we both have different ideas of how a bedroom should be set up aesthetically. I like my solitude and space and quiet, and I sleep better alone. Also should mention my 10-year-old daughter has special needs and needs attention throughout the night, so I am constantly up and down. She is on the main level of our house, and originally I was upstairs with him. I was getting up and crawling into bed with her in the middle of the night, every night. Eventually I kind of lost my shit and broke up with my guy because I did not feel able to balance her needs, my needs, and his needs. I could not move out, so I moved into the guest room, right next door to my daughter, and I was really happy to create a space that was mine. We decided to work things out, but I stayed in my room and we visit each other in our respective spaces. It is very unconventional, but it works great for our situation. My wife has an aunt and uncle who sleep in separate rooms. They happily married. They started doing it for a number of reasons. He likes the room really cold. She likes it really warm. He likes a hard mattress. She likes a soft mattress. He likes to fall asleep to the TV. She can sleep with the TV on. So after a few years of trying to compromise, they finally agreed that it was just more practical to have different rooms. As far as I know, there was nothing angry about it, just a practical solution for them to both get quality sleep. My husband sleep talks and flails around. He does this at least once a night, but can be up to 4 times a night. These episodes sometimes are just a bit of tossing and turning, but sometimes are him getting out of bed and demanding nonsense from me. Well, now that we have babies who are getting me up every 2 hours, I cannot deal with him waking me up as well. Also because his nights are so disruptive, he sleeps like crap, so if a baby is also waking him up every 2 hours, he gets 0 sleep. His drive to work is long, so it is just best for everyone if he sleeps in another room. Maybe once the baby is sleeping through the night we will try sleeping in the same bed again, but until then this is what works. Wife and I each have our own bathroom and bedrooms, though mine also doubles as my office. We have been married 2 years and been together 5. We realized early on that I snore and she is a super light sleeper. Not to mention I like to move around a lot in my sleep. After we got a dog and I started needing to keep up 3 hours before her for work, it just made sense. Now we have 2 dogs and each night we get a dog each to cuddle with. We could not be happier. We both understand the other enjoys having our own space and do not need to be up each other's ass every month of the day. Too long didn't he read light sleeper with snoring husband, married 15 years and I only sleep in another room when it is absolutely necessary. I am an incredibly light sleeper and my husband snores like you cannot even imagine. Every night I take Tylenol PM, wear earplugs, use a white noise machine, have the TV and the bed vibration on, all to drown out the snoring. He feels terrible and has tried many things to minimize his snoring. He pulls off the CPAP in the middle of the night and does not even remember it. Same with the mouthpieces that pull the jaw forward, and no positioning of our adjustable bed reduces his snoring. We love each other very much and spend most nights spooned up. He falls asleep quickly and I eventually fall asleep most nights. Sometimes, I just cannot freaking do it. I will poke him with my toe, cough, say one of our dog's names like I am shushing them. Anything to get him to shut the F up for 20 seconds. Those are the nights I usually give up and go to the spare bedroom at like 2 a.m. I do that because I start to get angry and resentful and then I hate myself at work the next day, for the thoughts I had when I could not sleep. My trouble falling asleep and light sleeping is as much to blame as his snoring, but I sure do not see it that way at midnight on a workday. My husband and slept in separate rooms for many years, as I snored to an alarming degree. I tried for many years to get doctors to let me have a sleep apnea test, but many simply rejected the idea and said I snored cause I was fat. They discarded the fact that 2 of my immediate family members also suffered from it. When I finally did get a test, the older male doctor told me I did not have it and that I should just lose weight. For 2 more years I suffered, until on an unrelated visit to the same ENT office, the female doctor who came out to call me into my consultation, noticed I was falling asleep in the waiting room. She ordered a new sleep apnea test for me and it revealed that not only did I have it, but it was severe. I would stop breathing on average of 78 times per hour during my sleep. She also looked back at the record of the test from 2 years earlier and saw that the results then showed that I clearly had sleep apnea, and she was shocked that I was not told this, and immediately put forward for treatment. I was very quickly put onto CPAP therapy, and since then, my husband and I have been able to sleep in the same room again, albeit with me looking like Bane. Once in a while, if one of us is sick, and nighttime coughing etc. could keep the other awake, then we might sleep separately again, but for the most part we get to snuggle again, cause now I can breathe. My fiancé and I have already talked about this being our intention in our future home. We each have a room that we organize and decorate in a way that feels creative and good for us, and have our own altars and personal bookshelves in closet spaces as well as beds. We love to collect art together and both appreciate design, so our common spaces will be co-created, but the bedrooms will feel uniquely ours, so we feel like we maintaining our sovereignty in these spaces. When we have guests, we have a system for making one of the rooms available for them. We love sleeping together and have a great sex life, and this is going to be a strategy to keep it that way. We want our sleeping together to be an active choice, not something we take for granted. Some nights though, I stay up late in a creative flow, and he goes to sleep super early and wakes up before dawn for work or exercise most days, so this whole arrangement will work for that. Plus we just have a ridiculous amount of books together and have mostly integrated our libraries already. 70% of our books are on mutual interests, but that 30% will be nice to have in our own spaces as reminders of what makes us different and therefore so complementary. For him, it has a lot of sports, political analysis, goal setting, and books about healthy masculinity. For me it has a lot of feminist spirituality, religious ethnographies, old Buddhist magazines, and herbalism. We love who we are together and separately and want to stay connected to all of that. Many reasons. We've been married 28 years, raised 4 children, I am anxious and a very light sleeper. Once I am awakened I can go back to sleep. My husband snores the weirdest snores. Along with the usual snoring sounds, he makes whistling sounds, and exhales puffs of air, while facing me and getting as close as he can. He does have a CPAP machine, but it's very uncomfortable, so he only wears it for a few hours. He flops around the bed like a fish out of water and has kneed me in the butt numerous times. We have a king-sized bed. We re at an age where we get up to pee several times a night, and between the two of us, that averages out to about once an hour someone is getting up and flushing the toilet. On top of all that, my husband gets up at 5:15 a.m. for work. I used to lay in bed and cry. Now, with me the spare room, we both sleep like a baby, not worrying about waking the other up. Oh, one more thing, I am post-menopausal and my husband likes to sleep in the heat of 1,000 suns. I like the window open in the winter. We like heat miser and cold miser. Together 15 years, married for 5, no kids. I snored, talked in my sleep, would toss and turn, was sweating like a mother ducker, and started a new job that saw me getting up about 1.5 hours earlier than my wife. My wife is a very light sleeper, so she was being woken up by the noise and disruption. I confess that I was not really happy when I realized that this was probably going to be a long-term thing, but I have made my peace with that. So long as we have morning snuggles in one of the beds every weekend morning or so, I am cool with it. We do both get much better night's sleep now, which removed a bit of a stressor on the relationship. Hubby and I started sleeping separate 3 years ago and it has been fantastic. The only downside is missing out on cuddles every night. We did it because we both have chronic illnesses and we just could not get a good night's sleep in the same room. I snore like a freight train, and I have to sleep with a pregnancy pillow that takes up half the bed. I also have insomnia, whereas he falls asleep around 10 p.m. and gets up early. We both sleep so much better, and it has been nice to have our own spaces to retreat to and then come back together. I always made fun of my mom's friends who did this, and now I completely get it and will never go back. Our dogs. After living together just fine for 3 years, our dogs decided they do not like each other. They are big dogs, so they tear each other up pretty good. After 2 separate 700 vet bills and a 6-week-long dog whisperer training session, we just keep them separated at all times. They are kept in 2 separate rooms while we are at work and get switched out every few hours while we are at home. My husband's dog sleeps with him, and my husband's other dog that I have now grown attached to and did not want to give up sleeps with me. We apparently love our dogs more than each other. Hit like if you enjoyed this video. Consider subscribing to our channel.